salvarte si la bestia ataca hoy. Espeluznante, brillar bajo el sol. Ya nadie va a
All right, you took about 6 years of Spanish. Sing along. You know the song.
Not.
It's the Spanish Thriller, and that fits.
Can you do the dance, though?
I can, but it's all in my head. It's a lot better that way. Welcome. This is the Fright Club podcast.
I'm Hope Madden.
And I'm George Wolf, and we are live from the Gateway Film Center.
Hey, woo!
In the heart of the Ohio State campus, Columbus, Ohio. This is Fright Club Live, and we are going to count down our... you know what? It's fuzzy math this week, is it not?
It is.
Now we love the fuzzy math. It's top 6.
Because it wasn't just one country. It was Spanish language the globe over.
Right.
And I'm not made of stone.
I'm not great about geography, but that includes more than just one country.
It does.
Top 6, top 5 Spanish language horror films.
Correct.
And then we are going to cap it off at the conclusion of this taping by watching one of them.
That's
and
correct.
It's going to be a good one. So, first off, real quick, last week we had a lot of fun with Takashi Miike.
Takashi Miike.
And actually a lot of comments from the crowd here, especially Charlie and Megan talking about how we introduced a few they haven't seen, so they got to...
Well, he has 86.
I know.
86.
Which is
so
crazy.
There probably are a few you haven't seen.
Yeah, and they are all, as we said last week many times, batshit crazy.
Oh, my God.
So, thanks
And it's something, I think, I mean, I'm sure you know it. Like, yeah, his movies are weird until you sort of consider all of them just by themselves in a big block, and you're like, Jesus! Issues. He has issues.
Exactly. So that's just the first... one where we dedicated the whole podcast to one director, but we'll have more coming up. Thank you for the comments about last week and for the suggestions for further podcasts. You can always keep those coming to Mad Wolf on Twitter at MADDWOLF. So let's get rocking. Since we got the top 6 to top 5,
we got to get on it.
Get through them. And at number 6,
Wait,
yes?
I want to say one thing.
Say it.
So the film Time Crimes and the film Pan's Labyrinth, brilliant movies. They're not horror movies. They're not going to be on this list. Just want to get the disappointment out of the way right now.
Way to bring down the room. So can we go with number 6 now? Are we ready? At number 6, Dawn of the Dead.
So this is our only film from Cuba. This is going to be the only Cuban movie that we talk about today. And it's awesome. And one of the things I love about it is it's like profoundly Cuban. But it's also, I think that if you name your film Juan of the Dead, that's cojones right there, because you're automatically begging comparison to 3 of the greatest zombie movies ever made, both Dawn's and Shaun of the Dead. And it lives up to it in a big way. It's hilarious. It's unique and interesting. It's got animation. It's got, Juan, who is a big giant slacker, all of his weird outcast friends, and there's a trivia question that I'm going to not give away right now.
Well, you talked about it being kind of sort of uniquely Cuban. One of the things that the director has said, that kind of the English-speaking character's secret plan, at least in his mind, was to steal the yacht that Fidel Castro used to sail to Cuba from his exile in Mexico, and then sail that off the island. That's what the director's, in his mind, in making the movie, that was the secret plan that the English-speaking characters had. You can't get more Cuban than Fidel Castro.
No, you really can't. And I love the ending of the movie. I think the ending of the movie is so incredibly true to the characters in the movie. And it's touching, but it's funny and it's gory at the same time. And it was, it's hard to do a zombie movie in a fresh way, and this was a completely fresh take on it.
I think there's an undercurrent of, as there are in most zombie movies, social commentary.
Oh, absolutely.
From a uniquely Cuban dissident perspective.
The whole film is just a political satire, poking a finger at Cuba from actual Cubans, filmed in Cuba, written by Cubans. It's really hilarious. And one of the characters I like the best, he's the one big, burly, you think he would be able to kill some zombies guy, and he faints at the sight of blood, so they blindfold him. So he fights zombies blindfolded the entire time. It's very funny. It's just very sweet.
Yeah, and you alluded to this, the title, Juan of the Dead. When you hear that after Shaun of the Dead, at least for me, it sounds a little bit cheesy, like, oh, this is going to be good. But it really holds up. It holds
totally
up
does.
so well.
Yeah, it totally does. It's definitely a film that's good enough to be sort of in the same canon as both Dawns of the Dead and also Shaun of the Dead. It absolutely does.
Yeah, very much so. So top 6, at number 6, in our top 6, top 5, is Juan of the Dead, and we have a trivia question for a fabulous prize.
In the film Juan of the Dead, they never say zombie. What do they call them?
Capital Dissidence.
Yes, capitalist dissidence.
That's correct.
Nice. Carol Merrill, get that man a fabulous prize. All right, that's number 6, One of the Dead. Moving on up, now we're in the real top 5. And number 5 is from 2001, The Devil's Backbone. This one, we were talking about Pan's Labyrinth earlier, and it's funny because in interviews, Guillermo del Toro has said that he considers this to be a sibling movie to Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah, I think so, because it's told from the point of view of a child who's kind of torn. It's set in Spain's Civil War, at the end of Spain's Civil War. In The Devil's Backbone, he's an orphan, and he's taken to an orphanage. The orphanage itself is run by people who sided with the wrong side in the Civil War, and so they realize that nobody's going to help them anymore. They're not going to be able to care for these children who are all war orphans anyway. So the little boy is kind of trapped because he has other problems that nobody is helping him with. There's a bully, there's a psychotic handyman, there's a ghost, and it's really beautiful. And one of the things that I think is so lovely about this is that war and politics and adulthood and religion and ghost stories, they all make exactly the same amount of sense to a child. They're all exactly as logical and illogical to a child. And I think that's one of the reasons that the atmosphere is so perfect in this, because none of it is right to the kids. None of it makes any more sense than anything else, which makes everything just exactly as realistic to them. So the ghost is just something they accept, because just as much as they accepted the fact that they live here now, how can they possibly live here now? Or that this handyman is just going to, it's really beautiful in a very similar way, I think, as Pan's Labyrinth. And it's visually beautiful. It's just these muted browns out in the desert. It's just sort of this image of just dryness and decay. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, that's a good point. And this one was apparently over 15 years in development for Del Toro. And he included, I think, a pretty obvious homage, I guess. Longtime veteran of Spanish language horror, Paul Naschy. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, he came up on Facebook today.
Yeah, he came up. We were talking about this on Facebook. His given name, his birth name is Jacinto, which is the character name in this. And Paul Naschy grew up during the Spanish Civil War. So I think there's a lot of throwback to not only the history of Spanish language and Spanish language horror films, but to that actor and that filmmaker in particular.
Yeah, I'm sure, because he starred in, and he directed probably 15 or 20 Spanish language horror movies. He probably starred in 75. So there's probably no doubt that Del Toro grew up watching him in films.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one of the interesting things too, I think, about this movie and is the use of the blurred photograph, where he says at one point, that's me in this photograph. It's blurry, but I know it's me. Yeah. And then the doctor later says how ghosts are like blurred photographs, which is a nice callback and a nice kind of a creepy way into the ghost story.
Well, and I think that the ghost, what the ghost looks like in this movie, is spectacular. Did anybody see, how many of you guys saw Crimson Peak? But when Tom Hiddleston at the end, I don't want to give anything away. I'm not saying he's a ghost. At the end, when Tom Hiddleston, he looks like the ghost in this, not that he is one, like this blood floats off him, and I remember I'd forgotten for a second that it was a Del Toro movie. I'm like, oh my God, yeah. But also, why is it floating? He's not underwater. He didn't drown at all. But that's just me. I've given away the entire end of that.
No, I don't think anybody picked that up at all. But apparently, though, Del Toro was inspired, and at least in this movie, for the look of the ghosts from Japanese horror.
I can totally see that, yeah. They do ghosts really well.
They do ghosts really well, but so does Del Toro. Yeah. We have a trivia question about The Devil's Backbone.
So, Silver Fox Federico Lupi, he plays a doctor in Devil's Backbone. He's the lead in another Guillermo del Toro horror film. What is it? Red Hat?
Kronos.
Nice. Nice. All right. Knowledgeable in the audience. We love that. Moving up to number 4 on our list. This one is from 2007. It's Wreck. Of course, this one became known to American audiences by the remake of Quarantine.
Which was great, actually.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it very much.
One of the rare, I think, American remakes that is, it's different enough that it's interesting to watch. They're both great.
Yeah, they are. But I think this one gives more overall background info on the entire story.
It does. One of the things I like about Quarantine is that it's really very bare bones. So it's really just like a big fun house that you're stuck inside. And this one, yeah, it does. There's more character development. There's a little bit more background as to what's going on.
Yeah, and the interesting note, the filmmakers decided actually after 9/11 to make it firemen. Originally, it was not to be firemen. They thought after 9/11, firemen got such respect around the world that they changed the film to include firemen coming on the scene.
This is one of the few found footage movies that doesn't drive me crazy. Because, like the whole, like, film everything, because we're totally news people, just keep filming, and we're so on the edge. Like, I totally bought it, and then eventually the lights are cut, and I can't see anything. And so the point of view character, who you never get to see, which I also really like. I mean, you get to see him just very briefly. It makes sense that because that's the only way he can see. So, I think... The lack of integrity in found footage films drives me insane. But
I don't think you're the only one.
No, I don't think so.
Not at all.
But yeah, I think they do a fine job of it here. And the claustrophobia, the feeling of being trapped, I think is really like profound in this movie. And again, it does have like a funhouse feel. It's like, ooh, what's in this door? Ah! Mouth foam, run!
It does, and I think one of the things that they also did, the filmmakers did very wisely, and it shows, they filmed the entire thing chronologically. They filmed it all on location and all chronologically, which you can tell, especially for a movie like this, why that would be important.
Yeah.
Yeah, claustrophobic is an important part of it, but it's got that fun angle to it, if it can be as bloody as it is and fun.
Yeah, it's sort of that boo element.
Yeah,
know?
Very much so.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's kind of a weird thing to say about a movie where there's so much carnage, but it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, and they ended up with... And we'll be spoiling too much. We talk about the differences between the endings in the American version and this version.
I don't think.
Have we all seen it? Okay. Don't want to tell someone that someone's a ghost when they're not.
That's right. Tom Hiddleston totally survives that movie. He totally survives it.
In the first one, this is more of an evil entity, or Satan.
That was the trivia question. I told you what the trivia question is, and you just gave it away.
As you can tell, we don't always plan these out as well as we'd like to.
No, actually, it's kind of funny. So quarantine, it was like a rabies virus, and I thought that worked quite well. It was, and then Wreck, which is a film filmed in Spain. It's a very, very Catholic nation, and it was the devil virus. That's what it was, which is weird, and kind of cool in a weird way. I mean, I thought the scientific version made more sense, but then again, the Quarantine sequels just full out sucked, whereas the Wreck sequels didn't exactly suck. The second one, it makes more of the whole Satan virus background.
You just gave it away.
The third one. The third one, we're inexplicably at somebody's wedding reception. Like, I don't know why that is, but it was sort of cool to see, like the bride, like a kick-out. Because what is scarier than bride? Nothing. Not even a Satan zombie. Like, brides are the scariest things on earth. And then the last one, they're on a ship, which was also very claustrophobic and weird and creepy. So, I mean, there's the law of diminishing returns. They definitely obey that law.
Sure.
But still, I think that the entire Wreck series is worth watching. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, and found footage has become such an easy whipping boy over the years, with good reason. But
whip it.
Yeah, you whip it good. But this one does pretty much hold up. And let me just try to pull out a trivia question off the top of my head, to make up. The final girl, the girl at the very last scene in Quarantine, not this one, but in Quarantine. Remember who that actress' name was?
Jennifer Carpenter.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, there it is.
Jennifer Carpenter. See? I had that trivia question in my back pocket the whole time. You want Mad Max? All right.
Oh, no, Red Hat didn't get a chance at Mad Max.
Oh, but he had...
All right, no. Okay, he's going to buy it, so that makes perfect sense.
And his name isn't Red Hat. What's your name? Sean. Oh, nice!
Hello, Colossal Bandit! Yay!
I loved your first couple of albums. After that, Colossal Bandit in the house. Woo! Nice. All right, we are up to number 3 in our top 6, top 5 Spanish language horror. It's The Skin I Live In. Yeah, The Skin I Live In. I love this movie so much. I remember when it came out, I was reviewing back when the paper was still out. And we were writing for the paper. I saw it first, and I wanted her to see it so badly because I wanted to talk about it, and I couldn't say anything like Tom Hiddleston is a ghost
I was waiting.
Come on in. To give anything away because there's so much going on here, both on the surface and below the surface. Plus, it has one of my very favorite final scenes of the last I don't know how many years. That scene in the dress shop there at the end just killed me. And we like Almodovar anyway. And Banderas is as good as really he's ever been,
ever. It's probably I think it's probably his greatest role. His finest performance. And the movie, I mean, whenever you have somebody, Pedro Almodovar, somebody that great who's doing a horror movie, it's always just exciting to see what they have to do, what they have to say. And I think that this is just a beautiful movie. And it reminds me a lot of a French film that we both love, Eyes Without a Face.
Yeah,
a lot of similarities, I think, to that film. And there's just so, if you watch a Coen Brothers movie and you just want to take in every single thing that's in the frame because it's all there for a reason. There's a reason for it. It's all because they're so much smarter than you. This is just I got to take it all in. I feel like that's exactly what this movie is like. Every frame is just magnificently put together and just gorgeously filmed. And I also think that even though Banderas is the villain, all of the characters are so sympathetic and weird. Not Takashi Miike weird, but weird.
Yeah, and there is so much going on, as you said. Every little thing in the frame. There are books in the office that show up in the credits that they give an acknowledgement to because the books talk about things that are going on in the movie. Also, he's Dr. Lagarde works on bonsai trees, which of course is manipulating the biology of the tree as they grow. And there's the name of his skin, which he calls Gal, which for his ex-wife, but actually that is short for Galatea, which I guess in Roman mythology...
George nerded up for this podcast.
In Roman mythology, Pygmalion fell in love with the statue that he made, and that was her name. So, I mean, like you said, there's so much going on.
Yeah,
and also it has that... You could tell from the
tiger guy.
Music. Well, the tiger... But you can tell from the music, it has that noir type of feeling. That music, if you weren't watching the...
Welcome.
Come on in. That music, if you weren't watching what was going on, it sounds like a noir type of thriller, which this movie has elements of that as well.
It really does.
But as you said, it's beautiful to look at. It's based on a book. It's based on a story where the ending is very different, which we're not going to go into. We're not going to spoil anything.
Yeah, we don't really want to talk very much about this.
In
Not
case
just
you
for the
haven't
Tom
seen
Hiddleston
it.
effect, but because a lot of people haven't seen it because it really is just a movie that you want to watch.
You don't want to get spoiled at all because the ending is just fantastic.
We got to move faster.
All right, that's number 3, The Skin I Live In. Number 2 on the best Spanish language horror, it's The Last Circus. 2 things I love off the top of my head. They're dancing to a big poster of Kojak. Which, I mean, who hasn't done that? And also, if I wasn't a clown, I'd be a murderer.
Which I think that's common.
Because everybody's creeped out by clowns.
Yeah.
And boy, this will give you the nightmares about clowns.
Yes. Alex de la Iglesia, right? Total freak show, right? He's not like Takashi Miike weird, but he's like this close. He's like this far below. His movies are so wildly just fucked up. And this is my favorite one. This is my favorite one of his films. Hi, welcome. So, and it starts off with this gorgeous, surreal black and white, history lesson, and then it just veers off track. It's like a social commentary for a while. Then it kind of goes back to being a social commentary, but the little boy who's going to grow up to be like his father who died, during the Civil War, is going to fill those clown shoes. I mean, it's so bizarre. It's so much fun. It is incredibly cool to look at.
Yeah, and very quickly, just the quick synopsis. The one clown is in love.
He's in love with the wrong clown's woman.
You know what else I love about this in a cheesy way? It features, what the Wilhelm scream is? That classic, the Wilhelm scream is all over that movie. I mean, multiple times until you've heard it, and it's just that same thing over and over. And it's such a campy, but all the carnage that's going on, and then you hear those Wilhelm screams.
And the face
it's hilarious.
ironing, yikes! It's oh my god, it's the greatest movie. It's such a great movie.
And I got another tidbit for you. In the beginning, there's a still of the movie Cannibal Holocaust, and that in the opening credits, and that is because the actor that plays Manuel dubbed one of the voices in the Spanish version of Cannibal Holocaust.
Oh, my God. He's officially out-nerded me. We knew it would happen eventually.
Yeah, that was going to be our trivia question, but no. So, number 2 is The Last Circus, and we have a trivia question. Did I spoil it?
No, you did not. So, Alex de la Iglesia, you should see all of his movies. You should see all of his movies. Witching and Bitching, you should see The Baby's Room, Day of the Beast, and then my other favorite one, which is not Spanish language, American language, or English language, excuse me, Perdita Durango. So, Rosie Perez, Javier Bardem, James Gandolfini. It's weird in a bad way. So you're going to watch it and go, she recommended this. Oh, my God. I mean, and she's going to put it on Facebook. She's going to go, she recommended this. Oh, my God. It's really seriously perverse and wrong. But, I mean, Javier Bardem and James Gandolfini, you can't really go wrong there. Seriously. But here's my trivia question. Perdita Durango is Rosie Perez's character. And that character appears in a David Lynch movie. Do you have any idea what one it is? Peanuts, you are dangerously cute.
Wild at Heart.
That is correct.
Wild at Heart is correct. Derek, well done. Get yourself a Fright Club t-shirt. That means we got one more.
I think we know what it is.
I think we know what it is. The one we're going to see here in just a few minutes. And that is from 2007, The Orphanage.
A disappearance. A dark place. And the games children play. When they're alone in the dark. The Orphanage.
In some circles, there's a bit of a argument of whether this even constitutes a horror movie. Some people will...
Well, that's insane.
I'm not saying I'm one of them.
There's ghosts. There's a kid with a bag on his head. What is that, good parenting?
I'm just getting the conversation going. Obviously, I disagree, but yeah, it's very creepy. It looks fantastic. The kid, I remember when we saw the trailer, just the kid with the bag on his head, just freaky.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I want to tell you this. So we saw this movie here in this theater, and a woman passed out, and George jumped up, like 2 rows over, went to her aid. I swear to God, it's true.
I think over the years, she's embellishing the story.
I was reviewing it, so I was very busy, and I couldn't be helpful. I love this movie so much because... So there's a ton of horror movies that are sort of, is she crazy or is it really happening? And then usually they're sort of really short shrift one of the two storylines, but this doesn't. You're never entirely sure. Is she just nuts because, she's under a lot of stress? Or is there really something, like supernatural afoot? It's also a gorgeous movie. It's super spooky, and the soundtrack and score, they're really spare. There's a lot of this lighthouse and this beautiful shadowy imagery. It's just such a gorgeous movie and incredibly creepy. And Belen Rueda, who's the star, is magnificent. She's also really good in this movie called Julia's Eyes. If you haven't seen it, it's kind of worth checking out. It's creepy. It's a very different kind of a film. Anyway, she's just always great, and she's particularly great in this film.
Yeah, it looks fantastic, and a little bit what we talked about last week with Takashi Miike. There's a lot going on here about is she nuts, and it goes back and forth throughout the whole movie. And also, if you haven't seen it, look for Guillermo del Toro. He turns up in the movie. He plays a doctor who tends to Laura's leg. So look for he's going to turn up. So I've got one.
You do
for every movie.
Oh, you know what? I actually do have one. But he doesn't direct. A lot of people think he directed this movie. He produced it. He actually presented it. He didn't really fully produce it. But J.A. Bayona directed it, who also did The Others, which is a beautiful film too. Another really spooky, beautiful, gorgeous movie.
Yeah. So even if you have seen it, if you haven't seen it on the big screen, you're going to find out it's definitely worth it. So we're going to have it here in just a couple of minutes. Thank you. You guys have been awesome. Next month, we're back here at the Gateway for Fright Club Live.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Inside.
It's inside. Which is going to be great. As always, keep the conversation going with us on Twitter. We're at Mad Wolf Columbus, on our Facebook page, madwolf.com. Thank you again for coming out, and let's have one big round for the Gateway Film Center.
Yay! I'm Hope Madden.
I'm George Wolf. This is the Fright Club Podcast.
Stay frightful, my friends. Brillar bajo el sol, ya nadie va a salvarte si la bestia ataca hoy. Espeluznante. Brillar bajo el sol, ya nadie va a salvarte si la bestia ataca hoy.